First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. We are live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. Thank you for joining us. We get to have some longer-form conversations and segments here as part of this. We cover a wide range of topics, but for this segment, we are talking about sports. If you are a fan of sports in the Northwest or beyond, there is a good chance, probably almost guaranteed, that you have seen our next guest's work in some way, shape, or form, because he's covered it all. And we're going to be talking about that and his new book that is out. We are joined now by Kerry Eggers. And Kerry, it's really great to have you on here. I mean, I am a lifelong Northwest sports fan. I've seen your work and your name so many different ways and places, always there with the tagline, Kerry Eggers. And really appreciate, you being here on the show and to talk about this and, talking about your career and this book that's out here. I guess to start off, could you tell us, about this new book that you have out? Actually, 2 volumes of this.
Right. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, there's 2 volumes. It's 160 stories in total. Just a collection of my stories throughout the years. 50 years of sports writing, 45 in Portland newspapers, and then the last 5 I had a website, kerryeggers.com. Hopefully some of your viewers are subscribers. It's free. Go on if you're not, go on my website on the homepage and put your email in and you'll get all my stories. But the book itself is a collection of a wide variety of stories throughout the years, some of them local, some of them Northwest, and then a number of them just for national figures such as Muhammad Ali and Jordan and most names that people will recognize.
And, with all of those different stories that you've told over the years, and the different ways that you've done that, there's so many names that you just listed right there. I want to know for you, what is it that made you want to do this in the first place? Like, what got you into this?
Well, I've had a good fortune of being able to cover not only a lot of good events, but interview a lot of good people. And as I was winding up my newspaper career, I decided I was going to do just a collection of those stories and tell the stories of some of these people I was fortunate enough to meet. Well, I got that delayed a little bit because I started my website. But about a year ago, I said, I better get on this thing or I'll never get on it. So I took about 3 months and looked through some stories and picked out some that I thought would be most readable, most people interest among the readers, and put them together. And I think I'm glad that I did it. It's gotten some good reaction, and I think people are enjoying sort of reliving some memories of their past, just like I did.
Yeah, with all of those different moments and different people that you've interviewed, and clearly these are some of the ones that stand out for you as well. Sorry, just a second here. We had a little issue with our, of course, we're live here, so just to make sure that, that happens sometimes. Anyway, talking about, that career and those different big moments, for you, maybe could you share one of those with us? Just one of those that really stands out for you? Over 50 years, that's so many conversations, so many personalities, so many stories, but just an idea of maybe one that stood out.
Well, I covered 4 Super Bowls, and 3 of them were pretty amazing Super Bowls. And so I did stories on all those, NBA Finals in 1992, and also the 96 Bulls team, which won 72 or 3 games. I did some stories with them that I thought were of interest. I was just reading this morning one of my stories on Tanya Harding. I got to know Tanya, of course, when she was going through her travails as a figure skater and later as a pro boxer. And so I covered her pro boxing debut in Memphis. And at the Pyramid, she was on the undercard for a Mike Tyson fight. And I was just reading my story about Tyson's press conference after that it was just such a crazy situation with a bunch of his people that sort of enabled him through his latter years of his boxing career. And I thought that was an interesting story to do. There's so many. Here's one that I thought of, yes, last night I did a book event and I had a pit bull fight in my basement. And I'm not proud of that, but it turned out to be a pretty good story. This was many years ago when I was a single man and a young guy, and I probably could have gotten in trouble for hosting it, but it turned out to be a pretty good story.
I mean, that's that's crazy in its own right. I mean, and what a crazy time with all of those, everything going on there. I mean, Tanya Harding alone, let alone the boxing career. I totally forgot about that. You know, I mean, so looking at those moments, you know, and all those different places and things that you've covered. You know, when we talk about the Northwest side of things, and compared to some of those other national stories that you covered, what is it about Northwest stories that maybe, was there anything unique or different about those compared to some of those national stories, or was it just they were regionally based here?
I think only the fact that the readers would have more interest in them. For instance, Greg, I have 4 stories on Clyde Drexler. I did Clyde's biography years ago, and one of the stories is when he was named to the 1992 Dream Team. The night of that happening, it was on the road at Phoenix, and I had found out about it that day, and I wanted to write it, but I couldn't get anybody to confirm it except Harry Glickman, the general manager, then told me, look, you can't write this, but it's going to happen. So that before the game, I talked to Clyde. He wouldn't bite on it. But after the game, they won. He was in a good mood. And I said, Clyde, I got to write this. And he said, okay, well, if I make the dream team. And then he gave me the quotes, and he was smiling. I have a picture in the book, actually, him with his arm around me. So a bunch of stories on him, several on Bill Walton. Of course, you know, a very important figure in Portland and Trailblazer history. And then, you know, just several Oregon State stories with Pat Casey and the baseball program, Travis Bazana, Stephen Kahn. And Adlai Rushman, I think, will be of interest to people. And I tried to do a wide variety of things, both locally, like we're talking about, and nationally in this book.
Yeah, I mean, already just everything that you've mentioned, I want to read these. You know, I want to know these stories that you're talking about. Of all the events that you went to, what are, you know, you mentioned, I think, 4 Super Bowls, let alone every other sports event that you were at. Are there any that stood out as maybe some of those moments where it's like, okay, this stands above some of the other things that I've seen, even though they're all amazing?
I can't really think of something off the top of my head, but one interesting thing was I covered the 1988 Olympics in Seoul. And we all know at the time that Arvydas Sabonis was a guy that the Blazers had drafted, but they hadn't been able to get him yet. So the Soviets played in the Olympics, and in fact, they knocked off the U.S. I believe it was in the semifinals, and I got to Sabonis, which wasn't the easiest thing to do in those years. And I talked to him on his way to the team bus and got him to admit that, yes, he wanted to be a Blazer, not to be a Blazer, but to play in the NBA. And 6 years later, he became a Blazer, and I think he became one of the most popular Blazers of all time.
Oh, yeah, everybody loves Sabonis. I mean, I wish we could have had him then. Everybody wishes we could have had him right then.
That was the thing. He'd already had one Achilles surgery, so he wasn't quite as mobile as he'd been young, but he was still a pretty good player.
Yeah, yeah, still, I mean, and definitely one of the most popular ever. Wow, Kerry, I mean, you know, what is it about, you know, these stories that you've told here through the years, you know, when it comes to sports? What is it that you think draws people in so much to this, that they're really interested in the lives and these tales that you've told?
Well, I hope to. Here's what I did with these stories. We reprinted all the stories, but I also added a preface and a postscript to each story, and trying to make it a little more interesting to make the reader understand how it came about. Let me give you an example. I was sitting in the office in 1997 at the Oregonian, and somebody in the office said, "Hey, tomorrow is Wilt Chamberlain's the 35th anniversary of his 100-point game. And wouldn't it be great to do a story with Will?" Well, how are we going to do that? But Ken Wheeler, who covered the Blazers prior to that, he was in the office, and I said, "Wheels, hey, do you have a phone number for Wilt Chamberlain?" Kind of kiddingly. He said, "Let me look." So we all had black books in that days. He brought his out, and he said, "Oh, here's a number I've got. I don't know if it's good." So, okay, I said, "Well, I'm going to try this. I doubt that I'll get him." But I called, and Wilt answered the phone. And I said, "Well, Kerry Eggers from the Oregonian, I'm doing a story on your 35th anniversary, which is tomorrow, for your 100-point game. Can I ask you a few questions?" No, I don't have time right now. I'm going to dinner in a minute." So I persevered, and and after about finally 3 or 4 pleadings, he gave me about 20 minutes, and it turned out to be a pretty good story. And I also talked to Al Adels, who was his teammate, who had the great line. Yeah, Wilt and I combined for 118 points that night. He had 100, and I had 18.
I mean, you called Wilt.
It could not happen today, Greg. These
yeah,
are the things. So that's the fun part of it. What the way life was for a sports writer in the 90s and years ago, like I got to experience.
Man, what do you think is one of the biggest differences from when you were first started, for these stories to where we are now?
Access to the athletes. The sports information directors and publicity directors are no longer advocates for us. They're shields to getting to the athletes that we want to talk to. Now, there are some exceptions to that. There's some very good people in sports information, but in general, it's much harder to get to the athletes. Plus, the athletes, they have social media now. They don't think they need the mainstream media as much as they did in the past. Still, some of the athletes are great to deal with, but at the very top level, it's much more difficult.
Yeah, you're not going to have the little black book with the phone number of them.
I interviewed Michael Jordan one-on-one when he was a freshman. When he was a rookie. That could never happen now. Kobe Bryant, same way. These guys are getting so much media crush that it's really hard to get to them sometimes.
Amazing. Well, Kerry, I mean, I love the fact that you're adding some of those, like how this happened into these stories as well for people to read. And I want to remind everybody, where and how they can pick this up.
The only place, unless you go to a book event, and I'll promote that on social media, is at kerryeggers.com, and go to the homepage, and up at the top there's a store. Hit the store tab and put your book order in. We'll get them to you. It'll be a good Christmas present, or if you just want to get some good winter reading in, this is it. It's a 2-volume set.
2 volumes. Fantastic. Well, Kerry, thank you, so much for having time to talk to us just about this and just, the amazing career. As I mentioned, I've seen your name so many times in so many different stories there, and just really appreciate, your work and also sharing some of this, because these are moments that I think, as you kind of mentioned, these wouldn't necessarily happen now, and some of those things that you are going to be able to share to us with these stories are just amazing. So thank you. Thanks for being here. Is there anything else important that you want to get across to people?
No, the access, we've got plenty of books. We'd love to have you sign. I can sign a personalized autograph if anybody wants anything like that. And hopefully people will enjoy some of this kind of a walk down memory lane.
Fantastic. Kerry, thanks so much for joining us here on Fox 12 Now.
Appreciate you. Thank Greg.
And for everybody watching, we are live streaming here. We're going to go ahead and go to a break. And we thank you for watching us too. So whether you're on YouTube, you'll see this video end. If you're on our apps or website, you'll see it continue on. We're going to go all the way until 4 o'clock. We've got more coming up. We will take a break right now. You may be seeing local news live if you go to the website or the apps. But we'll be back if there's anything else. And we'll talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.